Hello out there, everyone. It is I, the Black Messiah. Welcome to Imaginary Monday. This week looks a little different. They're all different. Figured we'd do a podcast this week, just to change it up a little bit. I thought maybe a good idea would be to talk about one of the songs off of the new All Rise EP, kind of go through it and talk about my process, and maybe you guys can gain a little insight and I can share how it went for me. Figured we would do the last song on the EP, Nowhere to Be Found. I'm not sure why, but some other songs on the EP have already gotten some attention. I've made a couple of videos. I made a video for Dungeon, which was the first thing I released, and then I made a video for The King's Funky Palace. So I had some good feedback on this song, Nowhere to Be Found. It's the first song I wrote as the Black Messiah. It was the first song I wrote in this musical style, this electronic one-man way of making music on your computer. I was inspired to make this first Black Messiah song after stumbling across an artist named Fascinator who made electronic music, and he also put out these videos that were very visual. And at the time I saw it, I was working with my band Crocodile, which is just the opposite of the Black Messiah. Crocodile is a rock band, very thoughtful, composed, and rehearsed music. Very detailed and maybe even complex. And I'd just written two of those full Crocodile albums. The first one being His Name is Stan and He's a Bad Motherfucker. And the second one being Howling Mad Black Music Under Hot Stars. Check out those albums by Crocodile if you haven't already. And anyway, after making two albums in that style, burnout's not the right word. I was just out of gas as far as thinking, I can't make another one of those Crocodile albums right now. I'd taken that line of thought as far as I could at that time in my life. So when I saw these Fascinator videos and heard the music, it just hit me immediately. Wow, this is what I want to do. I became excited and inspired just in that moment. I want to make electronic music that's just me, and it's based on beats, and it's based on booties, and it doesn't really have much to do with complexity at all. And I was inspired, and I think that day I sat down and wrote this song, Nowhere to Be Found. Began recording the actual version you can hear on the EP. And I didn't know how to do it, so I just found a drum beat that I liked in the rhythm and beat of the mood I was in that evening. And I started building on it. I came up with the bass line first, and I laid it down on the drum track. At this point in time, I didn't think about, I was actually writing for an EP or anything. I was just trying to do something. I thought, well, this will be fun. I'm going to try to write and record an electronic song. I laid the drum beat down, a found drum beat, digital, online, sourced drum beat. And the bass line, I actually played an actual bass guitar on it. And I wanted to use Mellotron, so not knowing really how to do this, I just went online and Googled Mellotron. After doing a little research, I found a sound bank that had some actual Mellotron samples. So let's hear the way that starts. Here's Nowhere to Be Found. It's the drum track, the bass track I played, and then you will also hear the Mellotrons. Really low, ominous cello that goes, that comes in there really fat and heavy. I really like. Also a really cool wah guitar riff on this one. I stood in the quicksand, I called your name. You were caught in a flash, I was getting the ground, I was eating the sand. These verses are interesting because they were too much of a mouthful. When I finally ended up in the studio recording the vocals onto this song, I had to do a line, and then I had to come back in later and do the second line because they were too close with no place to get a breath. I'm caught in a storm and I tried again. You were holding the phone, I was starting to drown. I was eating the words, you're nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You are nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. verses on this song, you'll also notice have a kind of a thing that's I just picked up from my youth growing up, during like disco music and shit like that. But the verse has a low voice on it, but they're all mirrored with this high sort of disco-y voice. Because this song, kind of has a disco feel to me, rhythmically at least. But through these verses, when I'm singing, I was on a da, there's also a kind of a high thing going on.
Girl from outer space. But you were saving your face. I was coming in hot. I don't know where I am, but I know where you're not.
This bridge is cool because as I started researching and getting into this music a little more, I started realizing that there really was no limit. You weren't bound by tradition. In rock music and the kind of pop music I had been playing up to that point, when a beat starts over or a measure starts over or whatever, or at the end of a phrase or an end of a part, there's, people use cymbals and stuff. A crash cymbal would kind of start everything over. But with this type of music, I thought, I don't have to use a cymbal. I can really use any sound I want to start or end a phrase like that. So going into this bridge here, I used seagulls in place of cymbals, and it turned out cool. Still got that wah guitar going. Back to the riff, but picks it up a little bit. It's got these farty noises kind of flying through space that I like.
I was caught in a nightmare under the ground.
This breakdown coming up right here is interesting because originally it just continued like all the other verses, but I thought I need to change it up right here. So I pulled all the music away except for the bass guitar and that low bass cello thing. And I added a theremin. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the instrument, the theremin, but it's really cool. It's kind of an old, like in old horror movies and stuff. This breakdown became one of my favorite things on the album, because it was just one of those last minute decisions to pull all the music out except for the basses and have the verse going. And then when I come back in where there would normally be a crash, I use a laser as a crash, and it's the same laser that's in King's Funky Palace.
I was scratching the lid, you were shoveling dirt. It was starting to hurt, but your head's in the clouds. I was hung on a vine and I was starting to run.
Yeah.
But you were losing the plot, even though you're the star. I don't know where you are, but I know where you're not.
Hand claps and tambourine added.
You're nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You are nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You are nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You're nowhere to be found. You are nowhere to be found.
This last vocal refrain here. You are nowhere to be found. Every time I say it, I add more reverb, which in effect moves the singer away from the listener. The more reverb you have, the further away something seems. And I did that because I love at the end of Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, when he's singing and they're fading it out, how they keep increasing the reverb and he just gets sort of further and further away. So we try to add that effect here on these last vocal refrains. So there you have it. A little bit of insight into Nowhere to Be Found, the fifth song on the new Black Messiah EP, All Rise. You can, if you're interested, you can purchase a CD or a download of the album at my website, blackmessiahmusic.com. Or you can listen to The Black Messiah on Spotify at The Black Messiah. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Appreciate all the support for The Black Messiah, and have a good one.
Let me darken your soul with imaginary rock and roll.